I think maybe 6 months before launch. And the guy that took it over was able to turn around a good bit of it. And while he's been heading it, he's been trying to fix some of those issues while at the same time trying to push Microsoft forward, with the new acquisitions that they got last year and the stuff that they're trying to work for now. He's making some good and smart moves. I mean, he's actually sitting there at the table with Nintendo and with Sony, I think he truly believes, yes, we do this. It's not just about what we can do and the money. We want to focus on the gamers.
Right.
And it's nice to see somebody doing that. But now, and this goes into the next point, you've got the game developers that are almost on a lag of that. You had this huge rise in pay-to-play, loot boxes, stuff like that, and only a couple of games have actually gotten it right, where
True.
you don't mind it. It's not going to affect your gameplay. You don't have to do it. It's just an option, and they don't like nickel and dime you.
True.
But you have these titans out there like Bungie with Destiny. Anything EA touches, and
Screw Destiny.
EA, my whole thing with EA is they were a good company, and then they got greedy. And literally, they could do nothing else but put out the sports games and still make an ass ton of money.
Right.
But they're making all this stuff bleed in to these acquisitions that they get or these games that they put out, and it's getting ridiculous. I mean, the first big screw up here lately, I think, was Mass Effect Andromeda. That was utterly an unfinished game.
Oh, yeah.
It was horrible. And they had to go back about 6 months to a year later and give out a whole bunch of updates in order to make the game what it was originally supposed to be when you paid $60 for it. It didn't suck me in like the other ones did. I bought it. I played through it. I didn't even finish it because it just got way too repetitive. The bugs were too rampant in it. I just put the thing down and said, you know what, screw this. And then their biggest...
I actually did play through it.
And
then after that was Star Wars Battlefront 2. They had a good game with the first one. It was fun. It was interesting. And then they put out 2, and literally you could pay $60 for the game, go home, install it, go on the store, pay $30 more, and have everything unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
So you pay $90 total to have everything, and all you do is go through and get the achievements. Where's the fun in that? And you're paying $30 more just to do it. I mean, you had over half the people sitting there going, "Oh, well, I'll do this, I'll do that," and the rest of us are sitting there going, no.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
The gamers themselves actually started taking a stand with that, and they made waves. EA sat there and went, "Okay, well, fine," and kind of backed off a little bit. But then you had Anthem coming out right behind it.
Yeah.
If
and there was a lot of flaws there too.
Oh God, if you're listening to this, I mean, go look up the article that was put out for it. It's about an hour and a half read, and this guy did his homework. He talked to everybody he could, and he just didn't give a crap. He wanted to get the story out of there. What EA did with Anthem, if it could have been a crime, I mean, it needs to be. I mean, they forced the developer into situations that they should never have been in. They were forcing to use technology that they couldn't work with to do the game that they wanted, refused to let them take breaks to get this game out under EA's schedule. And then when everything hit and all this news came out, and the game, it was fun, but you could tell that it was completely unfinished.
Yep.
And it definitely wasn't what we saw at E3. It was almost a completely different game.
Yep.
And EA's just sitting there going, oh, we didn't have anything to do with it, and fell back into their little hole. Well, this story's gotten steam, and a lot of people are sitting there, you know, I mean, you've got big people out there that do podcasts and do reviews that are starting to speak up in their articles and stuff. You got the gamers sitting there going, you know what, I I'm not going to give them maybe as much money, or I'm not going to buy anything EA. They they announced their earnings for the last quarter that Anthem came through, and they lost so much money, it was insane. And they tried to get in front
Mhm.
of it with the CEOs coming out saying, well, because of these losses, we're not going to take our bonuses.
Yeah.
Anybody I've talked to that saw that headline or read an article about it was like, really? You're going to take this hardship? No, fuck you. If you're running a company and you don't make money, you lose out on stuff. That's
Right.
just common decency and common sense, in my opinion.
Mhm. Mhm. But a
So
lot of companies don't do that though.
they
Like,
don't, and they get into this whole thing with the money. It's all about money to them. It's not about the video games anymore. And a lot of the
yeah.
smaller developers are coming out and saying, you know what, we're not going to put up with this anymore. Um, was it NetherRealm that does
Mortal Kombat.
and Injustice? They do Injustice 2, right?
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
They were one of the first ones when Injustice 2 came out. They said, you buy the game, you bought the game. Any DLC, don't know more about it. Free to download. They're, they started the whole movement of getting back to, okay, well, we're going to pay $60 for this game. There's going to be updates and DLC, which is cool. It keeps the enjoyment of the game going. I don't have a problem with DLC, but having to pay for it, that's what pisses me off. It's like, okay, I have to pay $10 for this, for another 4 hours of new gameplay on this game I already paid $60 for.
That's pretty shitty.
I mean, if you want to add cosmetics, okay, fine. Uh, the one game that I think has done it right has been Overwatch. You can earn anything in that game. You got to grind for it. The grind's not too bad, but you can earn it. Or you pay $10 and you get 20 loot crates, and if you get duplicates, it turns it into coin that you can use to get whatever you don't get if you don't get it in the loot crate.
Right. Right.
You know, yeah, you're paying for those loot crates, but at the same time, they're helping you if you don't get the drop that you want. They're actually taking the gamer into consideration, which I think a lot of developers go back to.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. I definitely.
Now EA, going back to EA, uh, with Fallen Order, uh, you know, the developer sat there and said, okay, look, we're going to do this right. And they actually, I think they pushed it back once, and EA wanted to fight them on it. And they said, okay, well, we're pushing it back. Uh, we don't care what you want. We want to make a good game. And everyone, you know, at that point, we were getting still screens. We were getting, uh, you know, some info of it, and it was looking really good. And a lot of people were sitting there going, it's EA, man. They're going to screw you. They're going to screw you. And right before E3, or it was either right before or during E3, they said it is a solo story. no microtransactions, or at least nothing that would, you know, cause any issue. And they're taking a stand on it. And
Hmm.
that, to me, as a gamer, is I'm cheering for. I'm like, yes, yes. And then they drop that huge ass, was it 15-minute gameplay trailer, and I'm just in awe about it. It looks like the next predecessor for what was it called? Um, the Force game. Y'all remember what I'm talking about?
Uh,
It,
no, not
oh
off the top.
crap!
No.
Why am I spacing
Not
on this
really.
game? Uh, it was
Force
basically
Awakens?
no, it wasn't Force Awakens. It was the story was basically it was a Jedi found by Darth Vader that he was training.
Uh, um,
Talking about Force Unleashed?
Yes, thank
Force
you.
Unleashed. That's what it was.
God, my brain sucks.
Yeah, talking about Star Killer.
Yeah, Starkiller.
Hmm. His actual name is Gaelic or Galen or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I loved those games. Those games were
Oh
fun
yeah, they were
and
dope.
enjoyable, and they looked
And he
amazing.
was a good character on Soul
Yeah,
Calibur as well.
he was on Soul Calibur?
Love playing. He was on Soul Calibur 4.
Oh shit, I didn't even know that.
Well, again, I am a collector, so I have
Mm.
every Mortal Kombat and I have every Soul Calibur. Again, the only Mortal Kombat I don't have is the newest one, but I will as soon as they come out with the complete edition.
Wait,
That's
do you
pretty
have the
fucking sweet.
first Soul Calibur that's not Soul Calibur?
You talking about Soul Blade?
Oh,
Yes.
Soul Blade. Oh my god.
Yes, I do. That
That's
Holy
was
hitting.
shit.
PlayStation 1. Hmm.
That's hitting
I've
home.
got to come see you.
I told you, man, I have a huge collection. Every Twisted Metal ever made, all the Zeldas, got it all. All the good stuff, at least.
But I think I've ranted about it as much as possible. I mean, anything else y'all
Yeah.
want to add there?
No, I agree with everything that you're saying though. Like, these companies got to get it together. But yeah, I think
I'm,
we
I'm
should
gonna
segue into something.
I'm gonna segue here a bit. Actually, I was just about to say that. What's worse though? Toxic
What's worse than
developers
what?
or toxic fan base?
Very
Ooh,
well played and planned segue.
yeah, that's a great question.
Toxic fans.
Toxic developers or toxic fans. Like I say that they're equally pretty bad because when the people who are making the stuff that you want don't give a damn about you, you know, that's pretty bad. But I mean, toxic fan bases, you know what? Maybe toxic fan bases, I guess you could argue, could be a little bit worse because they take something that's great and they make other people not want to like it. Case in point, the first three things that pop into my head when I think toxic fan base is Dragon Ball Z and Rick and Morty. And I
You said
love
three
both of those
things.
shows. Yeah, well, I didn't say I was good at math. Um, I'm lost on the third one. There was another one that I wanted to bring up. Oh man, but those are the worst two that I
Doctor
can
Who?
think of.
Doctor Who. We talked about Doctor Who yesterday.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. Star Wars fans can be kind of
Uh,
jerks. You know what? Comic book fans in general, like the whole, people, you know, arguing about, you know,
Comic
uh,
book elitists?
yeah.
or
And
elite.
what's sad? Like I love all of the three. I remember what the third thing I was going to mention. Batman fans.
Oh God.
Oh
And
God.
I am a Batman fan, but you know what? When they're just like Batman can literally beat anybody, I'm like, don't get me wrong, I love Batman, and he can beat a
Prep
lot of
time,
people,
bro.
and
Prep
with
time.
yeah, and if you give him prep time, he can take out most people. But you know what? There's just certain things he can't do, and you need to accept that. And he's not unstoppable. He got his ass kicked a lot. He's died
Yeah.
before. Chill out. It's been
Yeah.
he was a Black Lantern once. Come on.
Yeah.
Just just for shits and giggles. Batman versus Goku.
You know, considering Goku doesn't have any weaknesses aside from being easily distracted and having a one-track mind, being really simplistic, there's not really a whole lot Batman could do to him. And I love both characters. Like I said,
Yeah.
Batman is one of my favorite DC characters. But what is he gonna do? Like,
I mean, if
he
you do,
doesn't have anything to hurt him.
I would say if you strip the strength from Goku and Batman's toys and put them in a square, tournament style
Mm,
rules.
I see.
I think it would be a
Ooh,
good fight.
Wait, are we
yeah,
stripping strength and ki blasts, or are we just
Yes,
yes.
stripping strength?
yes.
So making
Straight up
him,
martial artist.
yeah, just martial arts. Now
Yeah.
Goku does practice several different ones. So, and he's a very accomplished fighter, and like, his
Well, Batman's got
like,
multiples,
yeah.
doesn't he?
He in a lot of iterations he studied like just about every martial arts on the planet, or in others like they'll go through like a list of like 15 or 20 different arts that he knows, but in every iteration
Dude,
and he's in Olympic level, shape. Like, he is as strong as an Olympic athlete, so he is at the peak physical human condition. He's as strong as a regular human can possibly be. Yeah, so I mean,
there
he's
is
definitely a
that one
badass.
universe where he only studied assassin techniques, though.
What universe? Which one are you talking about?
I thought that was like the main
No,
story, the original
the
story. It was a lost
the
assassin art.
it was mostly part of the cinematic universe where he basically just studied the Ra's al Ghul assassin techniques.
Ray Shagul. Yeah. Okay.
Ra's al Ghul, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're cool. See, that's I don't think we can call upon the cinematic universe for Batman as canon, because no,
That's a whole
just no.
nother argument.
I don't look, the movies. Some of the movies were pretty good, but if we're talking about Batman and we're talking about versus and who would win it, like, I don't feel like the any of the movie Batmans should count unless we're talking like, um what's the one with the Phantom,
The
the
animated one?
animated one. Yeah, the
Yeah.
animated one.
Mask of the
That's the
Phantom.
only Mask of the Phantom. That's it. So that's the only Batman that was in a movie that I'd be willing to bring up in a fight, because you know
Well,
those
it was the
those
animated
are.
series Batman, and that one
Yep.
str-
What about
almost
the live?
perfectly followed the comics.
What about the live
Exactly.
action episodic Batman?
You're talking about Adam West Batman?
No, the live action episodic Batman. Arrow.
Oh,
Oh, I mean, Arrow beat Batman in one comic before in hand-to-hand combat, so it's like,
I'm
again,
just saying, Arrow is
yeah,
nothing but a Batman story with an Arrow skin. I mean,
right.
it technically is. You're right. Yeah, very similar. And instead of batarangs, it's bows and arrows. So yeah, you have a point. But again, if we go to the comics, we go to like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and we go and observe that Green Arrow.
Oh
Still a
yeah,
great character, still a badass, but no, he's not. He's not Green Arrow Batman. He's, Green Arrow, and him and Batman like get along and like respect each other or whatever. But it's like,
right.
in the comics, typically, aside from that one arc that I was talking about, typically Batman is leagues above Green Arrow.
Oh, easily.
Typically, but like I said, in that one iteration, they wanted to make Green Arrow badass, and I don't know. I guess he didn't like Batman, and they're like, "You have to put Batman in this comic." He was like, "Well, I'm gonna make him lose." So,
I'm gonna make him a bitch.
yeah, which is what they did in the movies, and I don't appreciate that. I really
Yeah,
don't. I
I
really
didn't
don't.
either.
And that was one of the reasons why I thought Justice League, aside from the fact that the CGI was terrible and the story was
Bad
silly
casting.
and bad casting, let's just look all that aside and let's just focus on just Batman. If you're a Batman fan, you can't like Justice League, man. They treated his character like garbage. First of all, Batman ain't never begged nobody to join forces with him. Batman is a loner. He's always been like, I don't need the Justice League. The Justice League needs me. He's always been that way. But in the
And
movie, he's like basically begging the Superman. And I'm like, no, this is not my Batman.
he's never apologized either.
Right. And the way that they let Superman manhandle him when they first woke him up.
Oh yeah,
Batman would
Yeah.
Superman
not.
handed him his ass.
I'd be like, no, 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 no. Batman would not take that shit. He would just be like, I'm not impressed, Clark. Even if he hit him and knocked him down, he would get up, he would wipe the blood off his chin and be like, "That's all you got." Batman's a
Exactly.
On
badass.
that
That Batman.
subject, do any of y'all remember the animated series where Superman dressed up as Batman for a while?
Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
yes. Mm-hmm. Sure do.
But I mean, I get your point though. With the whole toxic fan base. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you've got
Yeah,
you've
I
got
could
your
talk about Batman all day. I love Batman,
yeah,
but I'm not going to say that he's better than everybody
right.
by
And I
any
mean,
means.
and that's one aspect. I mean, one thing that we've seen, in the early days of the group was anime elitists.
Yeah.
I mean, of all things, anime elitists. It
Yeah, if you don't watch it in Japanese, then
You don't watch it in
you're not a true
Japanese.
fan. Ugh.
If you don't watch it on these websites, if you're only watching it like this, or if you're only interested in this because you saw it on Toonami, well, shut the fuck up.
Eat an octopus dick for real. Like,
Like, do people not realize a lot of us only had Toonami as a source
right,
That was where I
exactly.
for a
started.
long time?
That's where you're, and that's the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'm really glad you brought that up because speaking of Dragon Ball Z, I can see it from both sides. As a fan, but as someone who tries to not be biased in opinions about shit, I get why a lot of people aren't into it. Like, it's not the most developed story. Some of the characters are just complete just wastes of paper and ink. I get that. But if it weren't for Dragon Ball Z, we wouldn't have anime the way we do. Dragon Ball Z was and still is, one of the most popular animes of all time. It's what brought it to the mainstream. It's whether you like it or not, you have to respect the fact that, it brought us everything else. When we would
Right.
get home from school, most American children weren't watching, Cowboy Bebop and Code Geass and all this other crazy stuff. We watched Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu
Gundam.
Hakusho,
Robotech.
Gundam, Robotech. A lot. Some of us, like more nerdy people like me, watched Akira. Because that came out on the Sci-Fi Channel,
Yeah,
and
I
I
saw
think
it on
that was
Sci-Fi.
that was my introduction to anime aside from Sailor Moon because we didn't know what that Sailor Moon was anime. But
Well,
I
we
remember
we
watching
always saw
Sailor Moon as a
Sailor
kid.
Moon as the girls' version.
Yeah, I still watched it. I didn't give a shit. It was cool.
I did
I
too.
was cool with the fact. I was cool with the fact that chicks were beating up people. Like whatever, it's
Oh
action. I'm
yeah,
cool. Yeah. I even watched what was the female He-Man? Uh,
She-Ra.
She-Ra. Yeah, I got down with that.
I
But
mean, the new reboot looks pretty good. I hadn't sat down and
yeah,
watched it, but it looks pretty
no, I
good.
haven't. Yeah, it looked like they might have actually done something good with it. But speaking of the toxicity part of it, I see how a lot of people have never seen it, but they're like the fans piss me off because it's just like, oh, Goku can beat anybody, and if you disagree, you're stupid. And it's like, look, man, chill. It's not
Yeah,
that serious. It's not that serious. Or I used to be in a Dragon Ball Z group, and I left it because like they would literally get in these stupid heated arguments about the silliest shit, like whether GT, because GT's considered non-canon, so you're not even allowed to bring it up. If you bring it up, you're an asshole. And it's just like, well, you can still talk about it. It's okay. It still
yeah.
exists.
I mean,
Even
it
whether you like
exists,
it or
but
not. Yeah,
it
whether you
was
like it or not,
trash.
whatever.
But
Yeah, it was.
you
It
can still
was
talk
trash.
about it. And one of the good things that I've liked about Super, uh, you had all this time after Z, and they did GT, and they did the movies and all this other crap, and GT had some cool things in it, but it was not popular. It A lot of people didn't like it. It wasn't considered canon because it wasn't done by the same people. And then when they
Hmm.
finally decided to bring out Super, they're like, okay, we're gonna pick up here, and we're gonna do this. And since Super started, they've picked and pulled some GT stuff, which is fine, cool,
Hmm.
whatever. But they've also made the decision to make the movies canon,
Which is awesome.
what I think is fucking awesome as well. I mean, it started Super started with the two movies. In the
Right.
I'm waiting
episode,
to see Brawley in the new episodic version of Super, honestly.
yeah, I
if
don't
they
know.
go that way.
Yeah, they haven't said anything about it yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
Well, here's the thing. They've also been talking about drawing from the manga more, and in the manga, they're already up to this crazy, insane villain who's
Yeah, I
a
know. I've
thousand
seen it.
times stronger than
More
Broly. Yeah, and can like copy moves and can like take people's powers away. Like it's insane. So I mean, if they,
Finally, a new original villain that isn't Frieza or Boo or Cell.
you know what, they never did bring Cell back, and that makes me upsettled.
Did they not do it for the little mini-sodes that they've been doing?
Oh, you're talking about what's it called? Dragon Ball Heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they may have. I didn't catch all of that. I mean, they may have, but I haven't really caught up with that. I meant, in mainstream.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, no, you're right.
I was just asking because I haven't seen any
I
bit
don't.
of it.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen Cell. They had a new Saiyan. Frieza, of course, was in there. The GT characters they brought back. Um, I don't know if they did so or not. They probably have by now, and if they haven't, they should. I think he's one of the better, villains personally. But we got off track. We were talking about the toxic fans
Yes.
one
and
more
toxic
thing.
fan
I
bases.
think they
So,
should bring Cell back and have him actually absorb Krillin, and he's stuck as this short, weak little Cell for the rest of his life.
A Cell
they've already done
Junior.
that in the video games. Yeah, they did that in the video games.
Uh, but no, I mean
Yeah.
that's just one real big example of it. I mean,
hmm Yeah, and Rick and
with
Morty too.
yeah, and I wasn't even aware that Rick and Morty had a toxic fan base
Oh
until
God, they do.
somebody brought it out a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, holy crap, this one does? Damn it!
hmm hmm
Yeah, it's
Because
the intelligence elitists. As
Yeah.
right, which let's be honest here. Now, I've watched every single episode of Rick and Morty from the beginning,
me too.
and there are some higher brow science jokes in there, but not enough to where you can be an elitist dick about it. Like it's not that fucking smart. This show also makes dick and fart jokes half the time too.
Right.
So it's not that serious. Like chill out. You're not a genius because you watch Rick and Morty. And
No.
a lot of them act like they're like, oh, you have to be really, really smart to get Rick and Morty. I'm like, my kid's 3 and loves Rick and Morty. Horse shit, buddy. So
My
um
son loves it.
yeah, like it's if kids can enjoy it that much, it's not that intelligent. I mean, it does have its moments, like when he's talking about how like Schrodinger's cat, and then they get into uh, string theory and the way they address multiverse and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, that stuff's fairly intelligent, but they do a pretty good job of explaining it too. So
Oh
they
yeah.
don't. It's not a show that expects a lot from you.
No.
It's not a show that makes you learn, that forces anything on you. It's just they
Right.
just, yeah, like it's like saying watch. It's fucking based off of Back to the Future,
Yeah.
right? And those movies are pretty cool and they're fun or whatever, but they're not that intelligent. Like
They weren't
it's
meant to be though either.
right, and neither is Rick and Morty, and that's what they don't
Right.
seem to understand. It's meant to be funny, and it has its deep moments, and it has like there's layers to it. Don't get me wrong, and
Oh
it's a
yeah.
very well written show, but it's not that fucking intelligent, dude. I would be willing to say that South Park is technically higher brow sometimes with their jokes, like because they seem to aim a little bit higher sometimes,
I would definitely agree with you on that. And
Right.
I would say they're way more self-aware than
Mm-hmm.
anybody else. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
literally started the hashtag and South Park last season.
There you go.
And I mean, I've heard a couple of interviews with I want to say it was Trey. Uh, I mean, he seems like a really chill dude, and
Oh yeah, definitely.
he's like, I mean, he's a big gamer, he's a big nerd, big geek. I mean, I know on the gaming side of things, they put out the 2 games and they were pushed back, but they were pushed back because he wasn't
Mm-mm.
happy with the way they played. So
Right.
in his the way he explained it was in his mind, if he's not happy with the way it played, nobody else would be.
Right.
He wanted to take the game, even though it was his game. He wanted to be able to sit down in front of it and play it and have fun. And if he thought if he could do that, then anybody else could just pick up the game and have fun. Whether it was, whether they got all the references or not.
Right.
And I mean that's some serious respect. And when they realize, they're catching up to probably Simpsons in longevity right now. They don't want it to
Yeah.
go stale.
Yeah. South Park is, I think, the second longest running animated series aside from Simpsons. Right.
I believe so. I mean,
They came out
I,
way before Family
I,
Guy. Way before.
oh yeah, I don't think, well, I don't know if there's any internal drama going on between Comedy Central and them, but I mean, just my takeaway from them sitting there starting that hashtag is they want out of the contract, and Comedy Central's not letting them do it. That's just my takeaway. I'm not saying that as fact or anything else. That's just my view on it.
That's possible.
But at the same time, they're pulling mad ratings by just going off the wall and doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, they delve out the insults equally to everybody, which is one of the reasons why I've kept watching it. I stopped watching Family Guy when it started going hard one direction because, yeah, it was funny, but every single episode you're bashing this group of people. Okay, you make some other jokes now, and they
Yeah.
didn't do it. So I just stopped watching it. It stopped being funny. But I'll sit there and I'll watch South Park because they'll sit there and they'll completely fuck with somebody on one side, and then they'll turn around in the same episode and go the complete opposite way.
Exactly.
You got that balance. And I mean that it's the same thing with the Orville. Seth. We all pretty much know where Seth stands on things, and yeah, it comes through on the show, but he still has that balance.
Right. Well, he's more directly involved with Orville than he is Family Guy now. At this point,
Yeah,
I don't think he writes anything for Family Guy anymore. I'm pretty sure it's a team of people that just handle it at Fox for him.
that would
At
make
this,
sense.
I mean, there's no way I'm sure it's still his creation. I get it, and I'm sure he still has input, but ain't no way he's pumping out all these episodes by himself and storing on the Orville and making it to all these cons and
Right.
doing all these interviews and stuff. There's no way. And I mean, he still does live panels and stuff too of Family Guy sometimes.
Hmm.
And there's no way that this one guy is still writing all the material for the shows. So this is a team of writers. So I feel like I don't know, man.
No, I definitely agree with that. But I think the worst toxic fan base that I've ever witnessed, and it. I know I'm going to catch a lot of hell for it, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's got to be Doctor Who.
I'm not too keen on that because I've never watched a single episode of Doctor Who in my entire life.
Well, see, I've started
As
watching
a
it when
part
they
of the
had.
Doctor Who fan base, I will say this. The way they acted when they found out the first female doctor was coming with this regeneration was 100% outrageous.
Oh yeah.
No.
Well, see, I started watching it when they had Eccleston, Tennant, and Matt. Their runs on Netflix. I watched them all right there. I binge watched them. I didn't like Eccleston. I hated Rose as a sidekick. I still do, and I catch hell for that from other fans. They're like, how can you say that? How can you? It was great. It was great. It was great. No, and I started watching some of these threads and some of these comments and how people interact. It's like, okay, you're geeking out on a show that the main ideals in it is, unity, love, equality, all this other stuff, but yet you're going to jump my shit because I didn't like this actor's portrayal of it, and I didn't like this character. And then when
Right.
they announced that I stopped watching during the last Doctor just because it was so sporadic there with their issues over there, and it was just getting too hard to keep up. But it started getting leaked that they were looking at females for the next Doctor. My only concern with it was when they leaked that, a lot of people and a lot of producers and companies, and I mean everybody across the board, was making it a big show and a big deal of POC and females.
Pandering.
Yeah, it was
The pandering.
yeah, at first it was okay, cool, and then it just started becoming pandering, in my opinion. And I would sit there and I'm like, okay, well, that's what they're gonna do. All right, fine. Just don't change any of the basic stuff. Do what you want to
Hmm.
do. And they announced that, and I'm like, I think in my opinion, they should have went with just another regular Doctor and then do it just to separate themselves. Because if they do
Right.
go this route, they're going to catch a whole lot of crap. And as soon as they announced they were going to go that route, the hatred everywhere, it was disgusting. And you couldn't
Right.
even enter a comment thread and go, well, yeah, I mean, they were sitting there trying to argue, well, it's not possible. It's not possible. Well, yes, it is possible. It makes sense in the world. It's
Here's the thing.
completely possible. I have no problem with it. I think they should have waited one more, but they're going to do what they're going to do. I'm going to
Here's the
judge
thing.
her on her performance.
Right. I understand why fan bases of certain things get upset when they change stuff, or they don't uh, adapt things from the source material. I totally get that, but I guess it's a fine line that you have to separate between being a purist and being toxic. Like trying to think of a good example. Teenage Mutant Ninja
Being
Turtles,
a
for example.
purist is kind of being toxic. But with that being said, I'm gonna jump
To a
off.
certain
4
extent.
o'clock is coming early.
All right,
Gotcha, man.
me and Gamby, you can finish it out.
Yep.
All right.
All right, so go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying is that you can be a semi purist, like kind of like how I am with Batman, where I'm saying like the way he was portrayed in Justice League was it went too far off of what the character of Batman is supposed to be.
Right,
Um, but you have to draw yourself, or you have to separate yourself from the extremes. Like um, I'm not making an entire Facebook group about how much Justice League sucked. I'm not running
right,
around with Justice League sucks t-shirts, but like there's people that get so wound up with this shit that they take it way too far. Like I didn't boycott Justice League. I didn't say I was never going to buy a DC comic again because they ruined my Batman. It was just like, oh, I don't like the way you did that one. Try again.
right.
Like I'll watch the next movie. Hopefully you'll do better. Whatever. But
And I
yeah,
completely
people take it.
agree.
They
It's
they take it too far.
the newest one right now is the new Bond rumors.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the last one yet. Uh, I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it. And I've loved Bond all my life. I mean, that is like one of the things that's a me and dad movie.
Yeah.
And when way back when, and I'm talking probably around when Daniel Craig was announced as the next one. Uh, that was when you were having a lot of comics and a lot of people creating. I'm trying to phrase it properly. Mirror images for representation,
Mm,
um, just to have the representation.
right, right.
And to me, and I've had this conversation with a few people that actually would sit down and have it with me. To me, that's pandering.
Right.
And to me, in my thought process, is if I was one of these groups, I would be frustrated that the studio would sit there and go, well, we'll make a version of this to make you happy. I would almost be insulted.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to create a new
Um.
character or something like that for representation, the big argument was mantles that could be passed, such as like a Green Lantern ring, Thor's hammer, Cap's shield, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So have at it. By all means, go for it. But
Right.
when you sit there and you're taking random characters and saying, well, now we're going to make this character be like this, or we're going to change this character up in the next couple of months to make them look kind of like these people.
Mhm.
That that to me, that's just more racist than anything else. Now
Mm,
the whole thing with Bond
yeah.
is, you know, and it was a fan theory because they were all getting up. People were getting upset. Oh, well, it's time for color to take on the Bond role. Okay, I can agree with that. But how
Sure.
would
Yeah.
it
Why not?
how would it work in the storyline? And
That the way they're talking is that like the title of 007 is a mantle, but the
yes,
the person's name isn't going to be Bond. Their name is going to be something else, but it's the title of 007 that gets
right.
passed on, and that's
Uh,
cool. Why not?
it was a fan theory that got really popular at the time that brought that up, and they
Hmm.
were they were one of the first to actually mention Erdis Elba, and I'm sitting there going, that would be an interesting cast. I'd like
Yeah,
to
I'm
see
down
that.
for it.
And
Yeah.
they were like, think about it this way. You remember at MI6 or MI5, whichever one that they use. I always mix them up. But you get selected for this role, and you're completely wiped, kind of like Men in Black.
Hmm.
You're given your designation, and this name is attached to this designation.
Ah, okay. So that's why
Which
that's why James
actually,
Bond always looks like a different person.
right?
It's because their memory was wiped, and it's just like your name is James Bond. You're an agent for us. This is your mission.
Well, I
You
wouldn't
know.
I wouldn't say memory is wiped. It's just they're assuming that identity.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
that I'm sitting there going, I mean, as a fan of both Erdis Elba and Bond, I'm sitting there going, this is a good story, Mark.
Hmm.
Let's go with this.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah.
From some of the stuff that I'm seeing now, they're looking at. I think they've already cast the girl. She's going to be 007, but she's not going to be James Bond.
Right.
And
Because
you've got
they
people.
don't. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say James is a weird name for a chick. So.
Right. So I'm sitting there, just as a fan going, well, are they going to modify it, or is she just going to fill that role with a different that number designation with a different name? I'm thinking of the physics of the world,
Hmm.
not that they're casting a female. And you've got people sitting there screaming, "No, you can't do this! You can't do this! You can't do this!" And then you've got people going, "Well, it's time! It's time! We need it! Just make
Yeah.
it
Two
work!"
ends of the extreme. Yeah. Two ends of
Right.
the
I mean,
extreme. Yeah.
and that's where our society is right now. Really, and to get a little deep about it, is you've got two
True.
extremes screaming at each other when probably 85% of the rest of us are sitting there going, "You both sound like idiots.
Yes.
Let's have a dialogue and differ where we differ and agree where we agree and figure out what we need to do." And I phrase it that way because you can take that model and put it into comics, video games, politics, movies, anything. That's
Right.
literally what it is, and it hurts worse on the nerd side because most nerds are bonded because they're nerds. They don't look at skin. They don't look at sexual orientation. They don't care.
Right.
I mean, we have a mod that is a big Miles Morales fan. I'm
Hmm.
not that big into him. I did enjoy the movie, just not a big character for me. And we joke around a lot, but
Mm.
you still have people out there that are on both sides of the extreme, and I'm sitting there going, just look at the way he was written. I mean, he's a decent character, but he was just written badly for a while, and now he's coming into his own. So he's part of the Spider family. I'm just,
Gotta admit that was a good movie, man.
oh yeah, I'm not downing it or hating on it in any sort. Loved that movie. I mean,
Right.
I was skeptical just because of the stories I had read with Miles myself. I was skeptical because to me, in those stories, he was a sidekick.
Hmm.
But they changed that in the movie, and now I'm like,
I mean, he
okay,
still
this
basically
is
started
good.
out like a sidekick,
Yeah, I mean, he did, and
or like an apprentice, maybe.
yeah, I'd go with that. But I'm changing my view on it because somebody actually took the character and did good things with it, not because. And I mean, I didn't like him because I didn't not like him because of what everybody else would say.
Right.
It's he was a new character. You killed off that Peter Parker to have this character, and you did it at a time when you were pandering to people. So yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit apprehensive about it because he started as a pandered character,
Right.
but you got the both sides of everybody, and everyone's sitting. Most people are like, well, why don't you just do this instead of pandering? And yeah, we should change things because it's new. So why don't you just go this route? Why do you have to do it this way? And then why do you have to have these two sides of the extremes just screaming at everybody just to get likes or views or votes or whatever the hell it is?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's one of those things. Like we could go really deep into it.
Oh yeah, we
Um,
could.
but
We're coming
for
up
the
on
sake
time.
of yeah, for the sake of the nerd community, I'll say that we should just really encourage other nerds to like chill out on being
Yeah.
so like elitist about everything and just like like I understand like we do need to unify when things really do suck and they're not taking the fans into consideration, then we do need to speak up and be like, hey, no, don't ruin our character. But
Right.
like when they destroyed Sonic, and the whole internet was like, oh no, that
Yeah.
Sonic is trash. We are not going to watch that crap movie. And the developers like, hey, 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 we're going to change Sonic. Don't you worry.
We hear you.
That's
We got you.
that is to me is a good fandom right there,
Hmm.
saying, nah, do our character right, as opposed to just being a dick about it. You know?
It's also been shown in the newer uh, DC stuff in the movies. Um, BVS was crap. Justice League was less crap, but still crap.
Pretty crappy.
Uh, I was very tentative on how Wonder Woman was going to come out, and I
It was
watched
great
it,
until
and
the
it
ending.
was, yeah. I mean, they had their mistakes, but it was still very good. And then Aquaman,
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, I saw him in Justice League.
was not
I
impressed.
don't know. And that was a very good movie.
And that's the other thing. Like people don't really mention it, but Jason Momoa is Samoan, correct? He's
I
a big
believe.
yeah. He's right or he's maybe he's Pacific Islander. I'm not. Either way, it doesn't
Somewhere
matter.
that area, I believe.
He's definitely not Caucasian, and
Definitely
Aquaman
not.
is a blonde-haired white guy, and
Right.
nobody batted an eye. And I'm like, is it because nobody likes Aquaman? And the answer is yes. So nobody cared that they changed Aquaman's race. I sure as hell didn't care. I'm cool with the fact that you made Aquaman way cooler and not a goofy looking white guy. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
But my problem was that his acting or the way that he was portrayed wasn't good. I have no problem with Jason Momoa, but they turned him into like a surfer dude. Like, yeah, I'm Aquaman, bro. No, no,
In
no.
Justice
That's not how
League
he's
they
not supposed to
did.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. In Aquaman Solo, you can kind of see him change from that, which
Do you need yeah. He's supposed to be
I've
stoic.
read. Yeah, he kind of gets there. He's still got the little attitude, but it was a vastly different interpretation than from Justice League. And
Fair
then
enough.
I just recently saw Shazam with my son about I think
I
last
heard that was
weekend.
amazing.
I was again. It was like watching them say, "Well, we're going to do Ant-Man and we're casting Paul Rudd." What?
I love Ant-Man.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna go watch the movie. I'm gonna see, and I've loved it. I did the
Yeah.
same thing with Shazam. I'm like, I don't know, but I mean, Marvel's did it with over here, so maybe they'll pull it off, and they sure as hell pulled it off. And
But that sucks though. You put out how many movies and only 2 of them are decent?
hmm I was texting Brad when I was watching it, and I'm like, dude, how in the hell do they fuck up 2 of the top 3 Justice League members, and then get it right
Get Shazam
with
right.
3 other ones, and especially Shazam.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's crazy.
but when you think about it, uh, along the lines of because it was way after Wonder Woman came out, I think it was around the time Aquaman came out. They changed heads over at WB, and
Yeah.
his statements that he's put out is he's trying to get it back under control.
Yeah,
Shit,
cuz
talk about another toxic thing is the whole Zack Snyder. I see Zack Snyder's cut, and we need to see it. We need to see it. It's going to be better. No, it's not.
no it's not. No it's
if
not.
it even exists, but people will
Well,
fight tooth and nail for it.
they did show a different version of Batman versus Superman, and it did give a little bit better context. But here's the thing: that movie was doomed from the beginning. Like the moment the script came out, and someone was just like, "Hey, their moms have the same names. Let's like make
Yeah,
that a thing." Like, what idiot was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a great plot point." Like, come on, man, that is the stupidest thing to hinge. Like, you're on a and you're intent on murdering someone. You're intent on murdering an alien, a superpowered alien that you feel is a threat to the entire planet, and you change your mind because your moms have the same name. Really, and not just one person, but several people sat around and were like, "Yeah, that sounds like a perfectly logical plot point." Like he's an insane, martial artist, aging martial artist who's rich, eccentric, and mentally traumatized. That could work. I totally see that working.
it blows my mind.
Really? Yeah, and then the casting.
I mean, I don't think I would liken the casting back to Suicide Squad, where I think Leto has the talent to do a decent Joker, but I think the writing is what killed it. I think the writing
Yeah,
killed him, and I'm going to say the same thing
aesthetically, he was
with
silly looking
Batfleck.
too.
I think Affleck has the capability of being a good Batman slash Bruce Wayne, but the
Yeah, I
writing
don't think it's.
is what
Yeah, I don't think it's his
killed
fault.
it.
Yeah, I don't think it's. Yeah, I agree with you on both counts. Like, they're good actors, but it's like, yeah, first things first, aesthetically. Like again, that's where Marvel beats them in just about every turn. They'll take a character and they'll change their look, but they'll pay homage to the original.
hmm
they'll try to base it off the original, or if they do drastically change it, like they do it in a cool way.
Right.
Whereas, like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, a perfect example is when they brought Spidey in and they give him, Stark gives him the suit.
Right.
Anybody that is a fan of Marvel Comics, or especially the older Spider-Man, recognized it.
Hmm.
Alex Ross's suit. That's what it is, and that's what it has been until the Iron Spider.
Hmm.
And nobody even complained that it wasn't the red and gold.
Right. And
And
you know why? You
now,
know
now,
why they
now,
didn't complain?
go ahead.
Because you know why they didn't complain? Because we all as Marvel fans know that they're going to bring that suit in at some point.
Well, it was an Easter egg in Far From Home.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. When they first brought in the Iron Spider, we didn't complain because we knew they're going to bring it in.
Yeah,
They're going to
the,
bring it. Don't worry. They're
those
going to
people.
introduce a different character or something.
Yeah, those people at Marvel have spent 10 years building a story, building trust with the people and the fans. Yeah, they've gone off script a couple of times, but nobody complained because they paid the homage, they paid their respects, they did what they had to do their own thing, but at the same time, remind the fans, we know you're there.
Yeah.
We got you, and especially with Endgame, seeing all that different stuff, throughout, it's like it was definitely the Russos going, we're fans too, we got you covered.
Right. And again, as great as a movie it is, I can even find some fault in those movies, but
Oh yeah,
it's not enough. It's not enough for me to say it's not a good movie or to complain. Like, I was not. I was a little bit on the fence about how they portrayed Thanos. Like, he was just more like laid back and like, I'm doing this for a certain reason. When we all know comic book Thanos was just insane and ruthless, and he
right.
literally like he murdered Cyclops and laughed. Like,
Well, I could compare that to Daredevil on Netflix, where we all know Kingpin. We all know what kind of person he is. We all know what kind of asshole he is. But
mhm,
that first season of Daredevil, where they're doing flashbacks and you're getting, insight into Kingpin,
mhm,
that there were multiple times in that season where you almost feel sorry for, and then he turns around and he slams a guy's head in the car.
yeah,
Right before you get that feeling, it's like, and I think, bam, 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 bam. Oh, well, nope, I hate him again. I'm
yep,
good.
exactly. Whereas
And I
with
mean,
Thanos, like you've got entire people that are siding with him. Nobody took
right.
Thanos' side when the comic books came out. Everybody was
Oh,
like, "Oh yeah,
no.
he's crazy." But you've got people in like, I don't know, Thanos was kind of onto something. Like, fuck half of everybody. Like, I kind of agree with him, and I must say, I also agree too. Fuck half of everyone, man.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it was done. I think it was a story choice, and I think it was a decided choice. They wanted you to connect with him and understand where he was coming from, just to
Yeah,
have that little empathy,
and it works. I'm not saying
and
it doesn't work.
at the same time, you kind of agree with him, and then you kind of feel sorry for him. But then he turns around and he dusts everybody, and he's talking trash to the Avengers, and it's just like, oh, dude, really? Fuck, it's
Yeah,
more psychological than it is. Oh, I'm an evil guy, blah 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 blah. I'm gonna beat the crap out of y'all and then make you disappear.
yeah, and
You get
you're
involved
right.
in it. Well,
Yeah, you're right.
I think we're gonna end there. Pretty sure we covered just about everything, and probably not as much detail as some people would have wanted. But if you want us to single anything out, just leave feedback. Let us know what you think, and we do not mind having discussions. We're all about discussions, as long as things don't
Definitely.
get too heated. You know, discuss away. Defend your side, but keep it clean, keep it nice. And I'm debating, coming up with a sign off, but the only good one I got is somebody else uses.
What was that?
It's it's from Critical Role, Matt Mercer. Every at the end of each episode when they're packing up, he's like, we love you, stay good to each other, and
I
then
mean, that is good,
that's the end
but
of
you
it.
can't
And
steal it. Yeah,
yeah,
that's plagiarism, man.
yeah, I know. I don't want to steal it, and I mean, I know I'm hoping this doesn't count as plagiarism. I'm trying to give him credit for it, but
No,
I
if
mean,
you
that's
cite it, you're cool.
okay, cool. But I mean,
um,
that's the feeling I'll kind of want to end it with.
yeah, I mean, we could say something like, it needs to be something. I feel like we need to take the stance of uniting nerds and like trying to convince people to stop fighting each other. Like
Okay, well, here we go. Since we're two of the founding members, I'm pretty sure we can do this. Uh, for those of you that listen, this will be a special little contest. Come up with a sign off. That's
yeah,
not plagiarized.
that's not plagiarized, but has something to do with unifying nerds and
Yeah, unifying and peace between everybody.
yes, Naruto fans and Dragon Ball Z fans need to get along. Star Wars and Star Trek people need to get along. Like,
Yeah,
come on. But nobody's cool with Twilight fans.
I will
I'm
agree with
kidding,
that.
sort of. It'd be cool if they did a Blade crossover with with Twilight.
Hell yeah!
I, I'd pay to see that. I
All
would
right,
buy the
then
books.
we'll leave it with that, and we'll leave you with the little contest. So if you listen to this, we're not going to post it in the group. We'll mention it, but only for those that actually listen. Come up with something like that and
Ooh,
message it to one of us, and the winning one we'll use that one.
yeah,
So
good idea.
y'all take it easy, and that'll end it for this time.
All right, appreciate it.